Hey you guys, so it's been a while and I'm so sorry, but as you can see, I have the baby with me and she's already a month and some change old. So it's been several weeks since I've done any videos, but there's reason for that. So everyone, please meet Nova. Let's see if she'll cooperate. She likes to arch her back. But yes, meet Nova Lou Prince. And her name, Nova, is because Nova means new. And as I was sharing with you guys in, I believe, the first video, my father passed right before we conceived her. And just kind of signifies newness, and it also means one who chases butterflies. I believe that's like the Native American meaning for it. And the Chevy Nova is also my husband's favorite car. So we knew that we wanted to name our first daughter Nova probably a year before we even conceived her. But the meaning of the name, it just made sense with, my dad passing and then us being blessed with her. So, yes, this is Nova, and then her middle name is actually after my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law's name is Lavinia. And so Lou is her nickname, and so we gave her middle name after her grandmother. But it's been a long journey since she got here. I went into labor on Saturday, February 2nd, and I started having contractions. And I, went to sleep, and probably around 2 in the morning, I got up because my contractions were starting to be like between 2 and 3 minutes apart. So I got in the shower, which was very difficult when you're having contractions that close together. But I got in the shower, and then we went to the hospital. And when I got there, they checked, and I was like a fingernail's worth dilated. And I'm like, what? But I'm having contractions so close together. Like, how is that possible? And so they were like, yeah, so you can go home. And I'm like, okay, I guess if that's my only choice. But I'm still like confused because my contractions were so close together. Hi, baby girl. She's like, who are you talking to? But they were like, we just want to monitor you and the baby for 20 minutes and then you can go home. So they put the baby on the monitor, and they were monitoring my blood pressure and also my contractions. And so within 5 minutes, like, the blood pressure cuff takes my blood pressure twice, and then I hear this loud beeping, and then the nurse comes back in, and she's like, your blood pressure's super high, so you just got admitted into the hospital. And I'm like, what? So I believe I was telling you guys how adamant I was my entire pregnancy, that telling every doctor that I did not have high blood pressure. And I just felt so betrayed by my body that when I go into labor, that I'm having high blood pressure. So, bless you. Bless you. Woo, bless you. So, yes, they tell me I have high blood pressure, and I am being admitted into the hospital, but I'm still only, there's like no dilation. So, they take me into one of the labor and delivery rooms, and one of the doctors comes in a few minutes later and again checks my cervix to see I guess she wants to double check, how dilated I was, and my water breaks. And I don't know if I was telling you guys before or not, but I was just really nervous about my water breaking in public somewhere, and I'm so glad it didn't break when I was out in public, because it gushed everywhere, and it was just so much, and I was so like disgusted by it. But because it feels like you're kind of like you're peeing and you just can't stop, and it just kept gushing. But so after that, after your water breaks, you have a higher risk for infection. The longer it takes from that point for the baby to actually come. So we're all hoping that kind of like expedites the process. It did not. Like I said, I went in like early Sunday morning got there at 3 a.m. And they started giving me Pitocin to try to expedite the process, which I was trying to avoid having a Pitocin-induced labor the entire, time that I was preparing for her. And, I was doing everything in my power to get her to come naturally, but still ended up having to get Pitocin. And because my blood pressure was so high, they started giving me magnesium, which I have been really adamant throughout the pregnancy, and even the beginning of the labor and delivery process, of asking every time they want to give me something, like, okay, what is that, what effects can it have on the baby? But I don't remember asking about the magnesium, and they definitely didn't tell me the possible effects that it can have on the baby, which it later had some pretty significant effects on her. Magnesium makes you really tired and groggy, and so even though she was in the womb, it was making her very tired and groggy. And so they were giving me magnesium, from early Sunday until she was delivered, to stabilize my blood pressure. And what's up, girl? And so where was I? So they're giving me magnesium, and the whole time I'm like hoping that she'll come on Sunday, because we're Rams fans, and the Rams were in the Super Bowl. Even though we got whooped, we were still in the Super Bowl. And I was really excited and hoping that she would come when the Rams won the Super Bowl. So I kept like asking, like, oh, what's the score? In between me being out of it, and I ended up losing. I should have known that was gonna be a sign for how the delivery process was gonna continue. But so Sunday night, we lose to the darn Patriots, and I'm still in labor. I ended up having to get an epidural, which again, I did not want to have an epidural, but with the Pitocin, I could not handle the contractions. And so in the middle of the night, basically early Monday morning, I wake up in excruciating pain because the epidural completely wore off, and the little button they give you wasn't working. They had spiked the Pitocin, so my contractions were out of this world. And I'm surprised I didn't cry, but I was like in excruciating pain. So the anesthesiologist rushes back in, and they have to do a second epidural because the first one just didn't work. didn't work, or decided it didn't want to work anymore. So I have to sit up in the middle of these like excruciating contractions and be completely still for them to put the needle back in my back for them to administer the second epidural. Baby, when I tell you that that was a trial, I mean, the epidural, surprisingly, it wasn't painful, but just kind of the anxiety of like, okay, you cannot move during these contractions that are like kicking your butt was hard. But they gave me the second epidural, and probably about 9 o'clock that morning, the doctor comes in, a new doctor comes in, because they had changed shifts. A new doctor comes in and she's like, you're not progressing like we would like you to, so we may have to do a C-section. And I'm like, no, this is like what I've been dreading. Like, I didn't want to get Pitocin because I know, when you're induced, especially with Pitocin, a lot of times it leads to having a cesarean section. I mean, I'm sure there's no actual research that proves that, but if you talk to a lot of women who've had C-sections, like, they've been induced first. And so I'm like, no, I don't want a C-section. She's like, I'm going to give you a couple more hours, and we're going to see, if you progress enough in that time. And if you don't, then I'm going to strongly recommend a C-section, because we don't want to get to the point of where you need an emergency C-section. And I knew with an emergency C-section that nobody can be in the room with you, and there's no way of getting out of it. Like, once they say it's emergency, like, there's no option. There's no saying no. You're just rushed in, and it's causes a lot. It causes a lot more anxiety, I'll say. So I didn't want to be in that situation. So I'm like telling my body, like, okay, come on, let's get it together. Let's progress and, dilate more. And at that time, I think I was 9 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning, I was 6 centimeters. So mind you, from Sunday, 3 a.m. Sunday morning to 9 a.m. Monday morning, I've only gone 6 centimeters. So she comes back a few hours later, and I got to 8 centimeters, but she still was like, okay, it's not looking promising. And we're like getting to the point of, needing to make this an emergency. And so, what do you want to do? So I chose to have the C-section, because they were also concerned. Nova was, having a little bit of distress. I had been in labor, having, strong contractions for several hours, in a couple of days. So she was getting to the point of like, okay, I need y'all to do something. Like, let's make moves. So I chose to go ahead and have the C-section. But it still felt like an emergency, because as soon as I said that, they brought the paperwork in, I signed it, and then it was like a whirlwind. Like, they rushed me to the OR, and everybody's coming in and out of the room, and it seemed like an emergency. And so it was kind of nerve-wracking, but I was trying to stay calm. And my mom was in the OR with me, and when they pulled her out, she wasn't crying, and I'm wondering why she's not crying. And then I'm thinking, oh, maybe she's like me, because when I was born, they said I was smiling, and so I was like, oh, maybe she's not, gonna cry. And so, I hear the doctor say, "Oh, she's stunned," and I'm still thinking like, "Oh, okay, well, she's just like looking around and, you know, figuring out, what's going on." But I didn't realize stunned was kind of I'll say medical term that they use when the baby's not really responding. And so they don't, lift her up to show me, which, I'm like expecting. That's what I see on TV when people have C-sections. So I'm like looking for them to show her to me, but they take her over to the side. And, my whole body, like I can't really move. And so I can't move my neck to look over at her. So I tell my mom, who's behind me, to turn my head. And later on, she told me she didn't want to turn my head because she could see how nervous the nurses were who were working on Nova. And so she turns my head, and so I can see them, over there with her. And it's still not really registering with me what's going on. And so they, I guess, kind of show her to me as they like take her out to the NICU. And again, I'm still out of it. I'm thinking like, oh, they're just getting her together, and they sew me up and take me to recovery, and I'm in recovery for hours. And the whole time I'm like waiting, like to see what's going on with the baby, and nobody's like really telling me anything.